Hello, welcome to my channel, Another Bibliophile Reads. My name is Greg, and I am going to do a zombie tag. No, it is not a tag about the zombies. This zombie is a tag that has arisen from the grave and is starting to make its rounds again. So it has a renewed life. It is originally created by Rick MacDonell more than a year ago. And it is the in or out tag. And in this tag, there are 26 prompts. And the answer should be very simple: in or out, with maybe some brief discussions. So let's do number 1, reading the last page first. I am out. I've heard of some people who like to read the last page because they don't want to be surprised, but why? Out, out, out. Number 2, enemies to lovers. Out. I suppose there may be incidents where that will be done well, but it just seems to me like a YA or romance trope, so out. Number 3, dream sequences. In, not a strong in. A lot of dream sequences are misused to sort of deceive the reader, but when they're done well, they can be very effective. Number 4, love triangles. Out. For essentially the same reason as enemies to lovers. Seems like a trope used in YA and romance too much, so not for me. Number 5, cracked spines. I am out. See, this book, it's only a $1 book that I picked up at a thrift store, but whoever read it cracked that spine. Why? Why can't you read it carefully? Why not be like this book that I read? I read this book, and the spine is perfect. Out on cracked spines. Number 6, back to my small town. I had originally thought I'd be in, but when I think about it, I think that's going to be too much of a cliched story. Probably a feel-good story, potentially, and I'm not a big fan of feel-good stories. So unless the author is very careful, I would definitely be out. Number 7, monsters are regular people. I'm in. I like it when the monster is something other than just a monster. You can think of Mary Shelley's creature in Frankenstein, who does turn murderous. But he began as a normal person, just wanting friends to like him. Number 8, no paragraph breaks. I'm in. It's a style that you have to like. I enjoy it. I'm holding up my Thomas Bernhard, and this book is all basically one paragraph. It might have some part breaks, like 2 or 3, but other than that, all one paragraph. There are reasons authors do this. They want to not give the reader an out. They want the reader to fully immerse themselves into the writing, like you'd be immersed in real life and not have a easy off-ramp. So I'm definitely in on no paragraph breaks. Number 9, multi-generational sagas. I'm in. I don't know if I'm a strong in. I don't read a lot of them, but when I do, I enjoy them. I'm thinking something like James Michener. He wrote a huge book called Chesapeake about the lives of a family growing up in the Chesapeake Bay. And as I remember, it had like 5 generations or something like that. And it was just an amazingly entertaining book. Not great literature, but entertaining. Number 10, rereading. I am in. I love rereading books. I reread a lot. About 20%, I think, if I were to calculate it out, of my books are rereads, because you always know it's going to be a good book. And it can be a different book from the last time you picked it up, because I am not the same person who first read it. 11, artificial intelligence. I'm in. I like a good science fiction story with an AI. It can be very entertaining. Number 12, drop caps. I'm in. Drop cap is this, where the first letter of the word is much larger than the rest of the letters, so you get that very artistic feel to the book. And it doesn't really add anything, but it's just sort of a pleasant look. Number 13, happy endings. I am freaking out. I do not like books that try to force a happy ending or steer all the plot devices so everyone can live happily ever after. It is just so nauseatingly and sentimental. Maybe there's some books that can be done well that guide the story to a happy ending. They would never make it to my top tier of reading list, but maybe, but out. 14, plot points that only converge at the end. I am in. I like reading parallel stories, and you just don't know the secret that is binding the two together. In. 15, detailed magic systems. I'm out. I am not a big reader of fantasy or magical realism. Well, I guess magical realism is going to be okay, but fantasy books that detail how the magic works is just not going to interest me, because as a general rule, I'm just not interested in magic in stories. I always come to the conclusion that that's not real, that's not possible. My willing suspension of disbelief is shattered when there is too much magic in a story. If the magic is very subtle and in the background, it can be intriguing. But if the author is going page after page saying you have to wiggle your nose and touch your toes to turn someone into a toad, no, not interested. 16, classic fantasy races. I'm out. I did recently read a fantasy novel that had some classic fantasy races and maybe others with different names. And it was just sort of a curiosity. But again, the classic fantasy races remind me of playing D&D when I was in high school. And I outgrew D&D after high school, so I never really reattached to that type of fantasy story. Number 17, unreliable narrators. I am in. I love it when you do not know if the narrator of the story is telling the truth. It is just one of those stylistic quirks that hit the right buttons for me. Number 18, evil protagonists. I love an evil protagonist. I love crime novels when the hero is a bank robber or a bank heister or whatever you want to call them, and their plan to steal all the money kind of goes right and then kind of goes wrong, and things just get worse and worse, and the character has to do more and more nasty deeds. Great fun. 19, The Chosen One. Out. I've always found stories about the Chosen One rather ridiculous, that that there's some sort of cosmic scheme to the universe where this one person is going to be doing this fabulous thing that is going to impress everyone. No, just no. 20, when the protagonist dies. Yeah, I'm in. If the story is done well and it leads up and fills in all the plot points and the protagonist dies, it can be a great plot end or plot twist or whatever you want to call that. 21, really long chapters. I'm in weekly. A chapter needs to be as long as a chapter needs to be. Some type of stories require longer chapters to fill in happenings and the details or whatever the author needs to say. Some stories work much better with shorter chapters, but I can really enjoy books with long chapters. 22. French flaps. This is a French flap. It comes with your paperback. I like them. I'm in. It's not going to make me like the book, essentially, but it gives the physical book a very nice feel to it. 23, deckled edges. Here we go. That's a deckled edge. I like them. I've seen some people complain that it's harder to read the book with a deckled edge. I don't experience that myself, but I kind of like the feel and texture of a deckled edge, so I'm in. 24, signed copies by the author. I used to go out to more author signings when I lived in areas where you could actually get to author signings. But my wife likes to live in a big house in the far suburbs, so going to get signed copies by authors, it's a little too hard. But I have some very interesting signed ones. I have Mario Vargas Llosa. He won the Nobel Prize in Literature, and I have a signed book by him. I got this when I was in my 20s and working at Borders, and he came to do a reading and signing. So he signed my book. Another signing, that's another impressive one, is Günter Grass, another Nobel Prize winner. And he came to Washington, D.C., again when I was in my 20s, and did a reading and a signing. So I have books signed by Nobel Prize winners. If a really important author that I really liked came to town, maybe I'd drag my butt out from the far suburbs to get to the book signing. But as of now, I like my signed copies, but I'm not going to drive too far to get the author to sign them. 25, dog-earing pages. Out. Why would you dog-ear a page and destroy your book? I know some people don't care what happens to their books and fold it over, but out. 26, chapter titles instead of numbers. I'm in. They can be very effective if done right. Sometimes they're rather dry and boring, and to be honest, ignore them. But I'm still in. And that is the end of the in-out tag. Now, as I said, this tag has risen from the grave like a zombie after being out for more than a year. So a lot of people have done this tag. But I'm going to tag some booktubers who I think came after this tag was originally released. So they have a chance to do it. Anna Novella, Criminale, The Channel of a Disappointed Man, Micah Cummings, and Pax Panic. Don't feel that you have to do this tag, but it's fun and it's rather quick. Thank you for watching. keep on reading.